It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning here in Scotland, and Ian Garry versus Michael Venom Page has just concluded. Ian Garry wins by unanimous decision 29-28. Most realistically, rounds 1 and 3 were Garry's, as round 2 was very, very close. However, obviously you can put it MVP's way just on the striking. Let's talk about the matchup. I said in the build-up to this, Ian Garry's going to come in, and my exact words were make it look easy and dominate. My prediction was looking phenomenal in the first round. I obviously thought Ian Garry would come out and he would look to grapple, he would look to catch a kick. He did that exactly, and he showed off that shoot-to-box style of aggressive jiu-jitsu, of rolling for legs, that which happened in the second round. Let's talk a bit about the first. He came out there, MVP visibly faster on his entries. Leaving the pocket is when you really want to be able to catch MVP, because he doesn't, after throwing strikes, he leaves the pocket actually very slowly, but he's so springy. He's a phenomenal competitor. He's very difficult to deal with. Ian Garry said in the post-fight press interview, you have to grapple him. That's how you beat Michael Venom Page. If you don't catch him on the way out, you have to mix it up, make it an MMA fight. And he said he knew it was going to be a close fight. The thing about Ian Garry, folks, love it or hate it, he has no problem, in the same way as Sean O'Malley is, he has no problem making fights boring. He wants to go in there, he wants to dominate, he wants to win, he wants to show that he's a better mixed martial artist, and that's what he did. 15-0, undefeated, most likely will move to number 5 in the division after this win. It's another win. He was obviously rumoured to have been fighting Colby. I don't think Colby Covington wants it. I don't think Colby Covington's looking for risky matchups. He wants top contenders that losing to them would not be that bad, because, they do this or they do that. I think Usman versus Ian Garry next is the perfect thing to do. I think Michael Venom Page versus Wonderboy. Michael Venom Page has just lost a very close fight against a top 10 welterweight. Chuck him in there with someone like Wonderboy, get him back on track. Let MVP say, look, Gary's on his way to the title realistically. If Garry gets the title, Michael Venom Page versus Ian Garry 2 a few years down the line. Michael Venom Page's last chance. I want to see what MVP does next. I can't really give an honest answer. I'd imagine the UFC would try to do him versus Wonderboy, or perhaps him versus the winner of, Brady versus Burns, something fun like that. Michael Venom Page on the feet is so difficult for anyone to deal with. I think he has a very good chance of winning a few more fights, but against anyone who can mix it up, like an Usman or something, I wouldn't consider MVP necessarily. Good to be a favourite against someone who's okay to be boring and okay to make it patient the way Ian Garry is. And all the press conference and the build-up to this fight I loved. I thought Ian Garry did very well in the fight. He came out there, had Michael Venom Page's back for about 3.5 minutes of the first round, almost got that rear naked choke in. It comes out in the second, looks good, looks crisp. Michael Venom Page lands a good few 1-2s in the start of the round. Ian Garry then holds him up against the fence. He slips left to the side of a left hand jab. He goes under, he grabs his underhooks, pulls him up against the cage, couldn't quite get the takedown. The referee then was like, look, you have to work. I think Ian Garry in his head was like, okay, fuck, if I get separated here, I don't want to risk that. Let's make something big happen. There's about a minute or 2 minutes left. He dives down, goes for the roll, grabs him in the obviously the heel hook 50-50 position, but he had it past the knee. And obviously when you have it past the knee, if Michael Venom Page was to jerk out and not twist his leg, Ian Garry could have just leaned back, used the momentum to really hurt him, and potentially obviously break his foot. He had a foothold on him as well, as he was getting a bit loose on the position. Look, they roll out of that, back on the feet towards the end of the second. Michael Venom Page was landing really good shots on the entry. Ian Garry said on the post-fight interview, I'm not going to throw leg kicks because that's what he wants. He wants you off balance. He wants you not seeing a shot coming. He wants to crack you. Ian Garry's approach is so methodical. It's so intelligent. It's really smart, and I completely understand it. The fans don't like it. The fans will never like it or appreciate it because they don't see it as art a lot of the time, and it was a shit fight. It was boring to watch. There wasn't any action. It was so hyped up, and what did you expect? Ian Garry's very patient anyway. He's so patient until he knows he can hurt you and not be hurt back. He's like that. He's methodical with his approach. I loved seeing the grappling side of him. I loved seeing the jiu-jitsu. I loved seeing him close distance to get you in those positions. Now we know he's got that in his locker, and he's going to completely improve and develop from here. I believe he's going back to England and Ireland now over the rest of the summer, and he wants to come back November time, I think, when McGregor returns. But I don't think McGregor will be back until the December. I must be honest, I think McGregor, they're fully booked up. Abu Dhabi in October, potentially O'Malley in September. That hasn't been announced yet. I would like that to be announced. Potentially they will do it tonight. I'm literally not watching the women fight to film this, because who wants to watch a women fight? But yeah, it was an alright fight. 29-28 is what I had it as. Michael Venom Page was completely winning the third round. Ian Garry weirdly held him in a closed guard with a body lock, in his full guard at the beginning of the round. He kind of pulled the MVP on top of him a little bit. I'd imagine he'll elaborate more on that in the post-fight press conference. And he started throwing some nice little elbows. I liked that, and being active on his back. I think the reason he was holding him so tight is so obviously MVP's got a 78-inch reach, 5 inches more than Ian Garry does. So obviously if MVP then sits up, Ian Garry, it's very difficult to defend that type of thing. I really enjoyed watching this fight, I must admit. I know a lot of you won't have, but I really wanted Ian Garry to go out there and win. Obviously, you guys know what I think of him. I like him. I predicted on him. There's no reason to dislike the guy unless you find him a bit annoying or whatever. But I think if you hate on his lifestyle, that's a bit sad. I made videos on it. It is a bit weird, some of the stuff. But realistically, he was 20 years old in Cage Warriors. He met Layla. Layla financially supported them both to go out to Florida and train before his UFC debut. He's living the absolute dream. He's training in the sun every day. He lives in a condo apartment complex with a swimming pool, an infinity pool on the roof. He has his 2 sons. One of them's his half-son. Irrelevant. He has his whole family together. Positively, he's inspired by growth. He's got a great solid fan base and team. He is living the dream. Let's be honest, like realistically, you can't hate on him for that. But what I will say is it was a boring fight. It was a boring fight. You're not going to gain 1 million followers from that. If he had went out there and front kicked the MVP in the face and knocked him out, that would have been viral for weeks and years to come. The only highlight reel you really get out of that is him taking MVP down, him on MVP's back in the first and the third round. I've seen people on Twitter saying, oh, but MVP had control time in the full guard. Garry was holding him in the full guard, elbowing him and stuff. And then obviously, it's just about, if you're not being active, what's the more dominant position? Fighting for a submission on someone's back, like Ian Garry was twice in a fight, is significant. I'd love to be on somebody's back more than I would love to be having them in my full guard in a body triangle. It's just whatever you prefer to fight off of, and what position, what you're more dangerous at. Ian Garry was looking for a triangle choke in the full guard in the third round. He came out with a bit more urgency. When Ian Garry is aggressive, he's very good at it, but I think he's a bit timid. Obviously, he has a chin. MVP caught him really hard a few times, but when Ian Garry sees the shots coming, he can take them, which is a lot like most fighters, but obviously with activity and age and how much damage you take, that will go away at some stage. But I enjoyed the fight. I thought it was a good performance. It was a really good performance against a tricky guy. I'm hoping to see Ian Garry back one more time before the end of the year, and I want to see him ranked in the top 5. I was thinking number 5 in the world. Beating MVP is difficult. The UFC put a lot of stock into MVP. Fair play to him for taking this fight. He is no grappling. MVP cannot grapple. He doesn't know how to defend things properly, and his hype's kind of gone now. The people that didn't watch Bellator events were like, oh, this guy 22-2, like this guy's an interesting watch. He's not going to be a champion in the UFC. These guys are... I'm not going to say MVP's worse. If MVP joined the UFC 10 years ago and worked his way up, he would have improved so much more fight per fight. Just because you have a different tenacity when you know you're having to go out there and beat a really good guy, rather than, I get to go out here and squash someone for 100 grand. Do you know what I mean? It's a different tenacity. It's a different level of like, I fucking need this, rather than, oh, this will be good fun. That's all I have to say on the matter. Thank you guys for watching. It's a good fight. I know it wasn't a good fight, but it was an interesting fight, and we've learnt a lot about Ian Garry now going forward, which will make predictions for his future fights even more fun, because now you know he's got that grappling side, and he doesn't mind being boring, which is a shit thing to watch. But if you're a fan of him and you like him doing this and just getting the win, I'd like to see more finishes from him though. I will say that, and my critique is, I'd like to see more finishes from him, and I would like to see his feet be a little bit quicker, just a little bit. He's good with his whole pivoting round the cage thing, But I mean, I mean coming forward in the way and then exiting a little bit faster, Ian. Please, a little bit quicker. But anyway, I enjoyed it. I will see you guys all very soon with my breakdown from the fights later. So, appreciate you all. See you later. Have a good evening. I hope you guys are enjoying the fights. It's almost 4 in the morning here. Let me just check. It's just gone 4 in the morning. So, please respect the grind and subscribe.